Hello and welcome back to Joe's Math Tools. In our session today, we are exploring the divisibility rule for 10. And if you're ready, let's get started. Our divisibility rule for 10 tells us that if our number ends with a 0, then that number is divisible by 10. And if you take this into consideration by examining our 10 time table, we could kind of see how this rule is applied, because every number in the 10 time table ends with the number 0. So remember that if your number ends with 0, it can be divided by 10. So let's apply this rule to some of our questions. So we have the number 355, and in looking at our rule for 10, we know that this number ends with 5, which means that this number will not be divisible by 10. So let's go through our division and test this rule. So we're going to be dividing 10 into 355. So 10 can divide into 3 since 3 is less than 10. 10 divides into 35 3 times. 3 times 10 is 30. 35 minus 10 leaves us with a difference of 5. We're going to bring down our 5, changing 5 into 55. 10 goes into 55 5 times. 5 times 10 is 50. And 55 minus 10 leaves us with a difference of 5. Again, so we have a remainder, which tells us that this number is not divisible by 10. And because the number ended with 5, we knew right away that this number was not going to be divisible. So let's look at a second example. Let's look at the number 620. Now, rule says that any number that ends with 0, and because 620 ends with 0, that means that this number should be divisible by 10. So let's test our number. So we have 10 dividing into 620. So 10 can divide into 6 because it's less than 10. So 10 will divide into 62, which goes 6 times. 6 times 10 is 60. 62 minus 60 leaves us with 2. We're going to bring down our 0, changing 2 into 20. 10 goes into 20 twice. 2 times 10 is 20, and 20 minus 20 is 0. And because our number divided completely without any remainder, that means that our rule is correct for 620, because 10 was able to divide into it without a remainder. Okay? So there you have it. Let's review our rule for 10. It tells us that any number ending with 0 is divisible by 10. So please remember that any number that ends with 0 can be divided by 10 without a remainder. And if you look at the 10 timetable again, remember that everything in our 10 timetable ends with 0. So that tells us that this rule does make sense and is able to be applied to those numbers ended with 0. So just keep that in mind as you go through your divisibility rule for 10 and taking note of the last digit in those numbers. Okay, so there you have it. We just reviewed our divisibility rule for 10 and put it into practice. I hope that this was helpful to you. And remember that there are more videos on the divisibility rule, so make sure that you check those out. Thanks for watching, and this is Joe's Math Tools, where math is made easy.